Welcome to another RDWorks Learning Lab. A very unscheduled interruption to my testing of lenses. People want to pay me to do work, so it gets in the way of my playing. Very annoying sometimes. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting little problem that you might be interested in having a look at. Now, I've got to make these little labels out of acrylic, and in doing so it throws up a little problem that I thought I take for granted and I do all the time, but it's a problem that several people have asked me about. Now, when you have a solid table like mine, one of the problems that you have to deal with all the time is keeping your work raised off the surface so you can get airflow underneath the work and it goes out through that grill at the back there. One of the issues that you have is if you're not careful, when the work falls down onto this table, it might not fall down exactly in where you expect it to go, straight down. It might go to one side, and if you've got adjacent parts, then the part that you've just cut may well get damaged by the beam from cutting the next part. So there is a very simple way of stopping that, and until recently there was no such thing as bridging available on this machine. You had to actually manually do it yourself. For those of you that don't know what bridging is, let me quickly show you. So first of all, we're going to put the letters in. And now we're going to cut the two holes. And you'll notice that I've got the power set just perfect so that the holes fall out. That's scrap material. But now we're going to cut the outside. And I don't want the outside shape to drop. And my wish has come true. It hasn't dropped. I think you can clearly see all the scrap has fallen through, but none of the pieces have. Those are the pieces that I don't want damaged. And look, they come out just like that. And that's because just along this bottom edge here, I put in something called a bridge. It was a little section there where the cut stopped, and the cut jumped over the bridge and carried on cutting on the other side. So that piece was enough to stop it from falling out. But as you can see, it was such a small tag that it was very, very easy for me to lift out. Now, okay, so that does mean to say you'll finish up with two little tags on there, one where you start the cut and one where you put the bridge. But most of the time, if you're careful where you put your bridges, they won't even show. So normally the closer you set down to the table, the more likely you are to get a reflection off of the table onto the back of your job. Sometimes it will curl up the covering on the back of your job, sometimes it will scorch it. So with this method, it doesn't really matter if you happen to be an inch off the table. The further you are off the table, the less chance you're going to get a reflection and any burning on the back of your job. So let's go and have a look at the software and how I managed to do that. Now, for those of you that are interested, I'll just show you how I'm doing the gold lettering. I mean, I'm using a spray paint, which is a gold spray paint, and I could have sprayed them all. The problem is I get a lot of wash over, and I don't really want that. I don't want to waste too much paint. I mean, I'm not mean. I think I get a much better penetration if I can brush the paint into these very deep, small grooves. So I just put some gold paint into a little container, and then I'll go across and I'll blob the paint into the letters. But we'll just leave those for a few hours for the paint to dry, and then we can take the covering off. Okay, well, here's my label in RDWorks. Previously, if I'd have wanted to put a break in this outline, I'd have had to do that inside my CAD program, because I couldn't find any sensible way to put a break within RDWorks. If you look at the top here, you'll see that I'm using version 38. Now, somewhere along the way, and I didn't notice it, they've added this feature, handle, bridge. Now, at the moment you can see it's greyed out. We need to make sure that everything is individual and nothing is grouped together. And then I'll choose this outside shape here, and then I can go back to handle again, and look, bridge is now available. So if I open up bridge, and I can scroll out, I think, yeah I can, and I can move around the screen. So there's my outside shape. Now at the top here you get bridge width, which I think by default is probably set to 10 millimeters. Now depending on the material you're using, you might want to change this slightly, but typically somewhere in the region of 0.3 to 0.5 is a good starting point. In some materials, like maybe wood, 0.5 may be what you require. With acrylic, I've found that 0.3 is just about enough. We don't want to generate a bridge by any of these features down here. What we want to do is add a bridge manually. So it's going to be as simple as this. Choosing a point, and I happen to have chose that point there. Click. If we zoom in, you can actually see the bridge that I've put in. And that's it. It's as simple as that. When you're sure that your paint is really dry, you can peel the film off, but of course you've still got the middle of the letters filled up. So very carefully take the film off the middle of the letters. Now if the paint is still wet, you will still get, if you like, some filling. It won't come out cleanly, much as I'm doing there. Some of the letters will come out cleanly and others will not, and you'll smudge your paint. However, a little spray of alcohol on a tissue. Now the bigger the letters, the easier it is for this technique to be used. As you get smaller, you get more chance of smudging. Don't remove the paint too soon. I mean, I haven't really left this quite long enough. Probably I need to leave it overnight. I've only left it about an hour. And then of course the final part of this job is take all the sticky muck off the table with some acetone. Now that's much safer than letting it build up in your honeycomb table and be a potential cause of a fire. So on that cheerful note, I'll leave you for now and hopefully catch up with you when I've got some results from my lens cutting tests.